Hi, my name's Lewis and I'm going to be talking about why certain games have turned out bad in the past couple of years. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3. Supply drops were added into Call of Duty in the Sledgehammer game Advanced Warfare, and they were thought to be a good idea at the time as they were innovative to the Call of Duty franchise with the chance to get some of the best weapon variants for the original guns so that you have a chance to do better in the game by either having more power or accuracy in guns. This was all well and good, but with the price of £32 for 28 supply drops and a drop rate of getting an elite weapon in one supply drop being so low, it just wasn't worth the time and effort. Also, not having a good weapon variant meant that you were at a big disadvantage, and slowly but surely this was making Call of Duty a pay-to-win game. This wasn't the fans' biggest concern about the game though, because the movement mechanics were a problem for many players that were playing the game, as they didn't like the way players were able to get away from them so quick. The reason I didn't like the movement mechanics in Advanced Warfare, well, that was because I felt like I was constantly looking up and down, and there were so many levels to the map, there was hardly any time that was spent face to face with your enemies. Then Black Ops 3 came out the next year, which was substantially better than Advanced Warfare in more ways than one, but there were still some problems which were in the back of people's minds. But they decided to ignore them because they were annoyed at playing the same Call of Duty titles which are overplayed, but the one problem people came across again was supply drops, which was brought into Black Ops 3 in the beginning. This was good in the beginning because the creators said there would be no weapons in supply drops which could help players win the games, but then there was new weapons added into the games which people got annoyed at. Destiny, although not as bad as Call of Duty's last two installments, still had some of the fans in a bad mood. First, it was the fact that the storyline was one of the most shockingly short storylines of the 21st century with just a 20-hour campaign, while similar games like Borderlands had almost double the length of the Destiny's short and mostly unexplained storyline. The next problem a lot of the players of Destiny were introduced to was the fact that the new DLC content, The Taken King, was 4 times the price of all the other expansions of the game, which was ridiculous even before you realise that the expansion is required to get the best gear in the game, whether it be legendary or exotics. Some of the gear only requires you to be level 20, the chances are low for getting any exotic or legendary, but the chances of you getting these pieces of armour are even lower. But most of the armour requires you to be level 40, which if you do not have the Taken King, you cannot gain. A lot of Destiny players do not like this change because some people cannot afford the new DLC, and they are restricted from getting the best gear in the game. And if they want to be doing the best they can in PvP, they will need this gear, as the people that do have it have a more chance of staying alive. The main problem with this is not PvP, however. The biggest problem is that players that do not own the Taken King have a big disadvantage when it comes to doing the raid or strikes on harder difficulties, either because they are unable to get the right light level, or it will take them countless hours because of the low damage rates of any weapons they are actually able to get. The Division, the game that showed so much promise when it was first revealed. Fans expected to see one of the most anticipated games of the year come to life, but instead came to a sudden realisation of disappointment from the lacklustre enemies that came in waves of walking bullet sponges. And a character progression system making the game hard work by being awkwardly fractured, and with the gear system failing by letting players bypass the codes and getting into glitches, giving them all the most powerful weapons in the game, and sometimes giving that player invincibility, which angered players who were being killed by these menaces of the community. While all of this was going on, Ubisoft creators of The Division were quick to respond, but with the wrong actions. Instead of fixing the game, instead decided to ban the people who were getting into these glitches, which if they fixed, players who were not in the wrong would still be able to play.